Cloverfield Saga, Clover monsters and disturbing alternate dimension theory, explored in detail. So far, there have been 3 movies in the Cloverfield franchise that have been created and produced by Jeffrey Jacob Abrams. To begin with, it all started back in the year 2008, with the first installment of the film franchise, Cloverfield, which had 6 people escaping from a massive monster that ambushed New York City while they were in the midst of a farewell party. Matt Reeves' monster movie boasting a found footage motif instantly piqued fascination, and to be honest, things got even more interesting with the franchise moving ahead and introducing us movie lovers to the multiverse of stories, one where literally anything can take place.
Particles interacting with each other across 2 dimensions.
Okay, I'm gonna sit down.
In today's video, we are going to take a dive into the 3 movies, into the Clover monsters, and also explore in detail the disturbing alternate dimension theory. You better be ready for this.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Something has found us. Cloverfield 2008. A recipient of 5 wins and 34 nominations, the 2008 monster movie begins as a found footage from a personal camcorder, one that is now in the possession of the United States military. As per older recorded footage, Rob Hawkins is seen waking up with girlfriend Beth McIntyre at her father's apartment in New York on the morning of April 27, 2008. Rob is seen teasing Beth with his camcorder about her never visiting Coney Island, and the duo decide to take a trip there on that very day. The videotape is seen documenting the entire events of Cloverfield throughout the runtime of 85 minutes.
I can see me trying to carry these bags all by myself.
You're doing a great job.
Here, practice doing 2 things.
Next, the scene moves to a Rob's farewell party that his brother Jason, along with his girlfriend Lily, is throwing in order to celebrate his new job in Japan. It's May 22nd, almost a month since Rob and Beth took that trip, and it's quite clear that the duo's relationship has certainly gone for a toss, with Beth bringing a new guy to the party. Much to the disappointment of Rob, meanwhile, Rob's friend, Hud, begins to film testimonials for Rob during the party, oblivious to the fact that he's recording over the duo's Coney Island date tape. Post an argument between Rob and Beth, the latter is seen leaving the party to head back to her flat. With Jason trying to cheer Rob up, the apartment building starts shaking violently by what initially appears to be an earthquake, followed by a fleeting loss of the electrical power supply throughout the city. With loud roars being heard in the area, the guests at the party head up to the roof, only to witness a massive explosion take place nearby, and blazing rubble start flying towards them.
Go, 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 go!
Panic strikes, and the guests start to make their way downstairs to leave the building. As they make it to the streets, the decapitated head of the Statue of Liberty crash lands right in front of them. An enormous creature is seen annihilating everything on its path. The Woolworth building, for starters, is the same creature that is seen destroying the Brooklyn Bridge later and killing Jason along with a multitude of other people. To make things worse, smaller parasitic creatures are seen dropping themselves from the main creature on the ground and attacking people. Rob is able to lay hands on a battery for his phone and soon gets a message from Beth being trapped in her apartment, unable to move. Rob, along with other friends, decide to help Beth out and make their way through Midtown Manhattan. In the process, they get caught up in the crossfire between the military and the monster while scurrying for safety. They take the subway thinking it's safe. But unbeknownst to them, a horde of those parasitic creatures ambush them and one of those guests from the party. Marlena gets bitten by them. The group somehow manages to escape the subway and come to a below-ground shopping mall that has been converted into a makeshift field hospital. By then, Marlena is already looking and feeling pretty sick to the extent and she starts bleeding from her eyes. She's dragged inside a medical tent by some staff wearing hazmat suits, much to the confusion of her friends, and her body is seen later to explode. Rob is even more adamant on rescuing Beth now, and post being able to convince a military sergeant into letting the group go, he is asked to report back at the military evacuation zone before 6 in the morning.
Park. Last shot was wheels up exactly 0600. If you can make it there, then they'll get you.
The military has obvious plans of executing their hammered down protocol, or in simple words, bombing the city to kill the creature. The group is successful in locating the injured Beth, save her from her apartment, and make their way back to the evacuation site at Grand Central Terminal.
What is that?
It's a terrible thing.
They are more than petrified to see the creature once again, and in the ensuing rush, Lily is put into a different helicopter. Rob, Beth, and Hud get on the next helicopter, and as they fly over the city, they are able to see the creature being bombed and getting knocked into a building under an impenetrable cloud of smoke. While most of the viewers are bound to think that the nightmare is finally over, the creature proves them wrong, as it lunges from nowhere and attacks the helicopter with the trio inside. The chopper crashes into Central Park. Rob, Beth, and Hud regain consciousness and eventually help each other get out, and it's quite evident that everybody inside has died in the crash. Rob, having his leg injured, is barely able to move. Hud is seen putting the camcorder down to help Rob, and when he comes back to take the camera, the creature appears and devours him. The upper part of Hud falls out of its mouth with the camera, and Rob and Beth are seen shrieking and crying in horror. With not much time left to escape before the bombing starts, the duo grabs the camcorder and takes refuge under an archway. With the bombing starting, their duo film their final testimonials. Rob is seen comforting Beth to the best of his abilities when a bomb drops on the park. The archway above them crumbles and the camera gets knocked out of Rob's hands. The doomed couple is last seen screaming while the creature lets out a heavy roar in the background. The movie ends with a whispered voice saying, "Help us," but when the same audio is played backwards, it says, "It's still alive." Who would have ever imagined that a handheld camera work is capable of having such terrifying effects on its audience? Well, the 2008 Cloverfield is the brainchild of director Matt Reeves and producer J.J. Abrams, boasting a concept that is nothing like you have not seen before. But it is the execution, its level of whip-smart creation, and sheer simplicity that makes the movie such a brilliant watch. Backed by a screenplay by Drew Goddard and a budget of $25 million, it is a movie that features no background score. But hey, did that movie stop from earning $172 million worldwide and being regarded as a pure-blood, grade-A, exhilarating monster movie? Guess we all know the answer to that. Monsters come in many forms. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Dan Trachtenberg made his directorial debut with his science fiction psychological thriller that, by the way, happens to be a recipient of 16 awards and 48 very interesting nominations. Backed by a screenplay by Josh Campbell, Matthew Stuecken, and Damien Chazelle, the movie begins with Michelle packing up her stuff and post an argument with her fiancé, taking off her ring and leaving the city. While driving through the rural area, she turns on the radio to find out that several other cities have been affected by continuous blackouts.
For more details on that, elsewhere today, power has still not been restored to many cities on the southern seaboard.
Furthermore, a call from her fiancé distracts her to an extent that her car gets slammed by a truck and it flips off the road. Michelle regains her consciousness only to find herself in an underground bunker, chained to the wall.
Please don't hurt me.
A strange man called Howard approaches her, tells her of an unknown attack which has resulted in the contamination of the air outside, how everyone is dead, and claims that it was him who brought her to his bunker after finding her unconscious in the car accident. Howard eventually gives her a tour of the fully stocked bunker. That's when she meets Emmett, another survivor who post-witnessing the attack had voluntarily come to Howard's bunker, even with Howard showing her 2 rotten pigs as after effects of the poisoned air outside via the viewport. A skeptical Michelle is successful in stealing the keys of the bunker and is almost about to open the main door to escape when she sees another woman, her skin almost melting, screaming and demanding to be let in.
It only touched me a little. Please go open the door.
The woman even starts to bang her head on the glass door. That's when a horrified Michelle realizes that Howard might be telling the truth. Howard also admits that it was his truck that caused Michelle's car to lose balance, but he only did that to hurry her to the bunker. Michelle helped Howard stitch the wound that she caused him on his forehead earlier, and she eventually learns about his daughter. Everything seems to go fine for a few weeks, and the trio seem much more relaxed and adapting themselves to living underground. However, things change the minute Michelle is asked to climb through the air ducts to reset the air ventilation system that starts malfunctioning. She discovers a help message there along with an earring that she had seen in a picture which Howard showed of his daughter. Michelle shows the picture to Emmett, who instantly realizes and recognizes the girl as a missing person from his school.
What do you mean?
Yeah, her name is Brittany. I remember her. She went to high school with my...
It does not take them much time to comprehend that the real threat happens to be Howard, and together they start thinking of a plan to escape the bunker as soon as possible. By stealing Howard's tools, they are able to create a makeshift hazmat suit as well as a gas mask. Howard is able to figure out what the duo has been up to and confronts them. Emmett takes the blame, and Howard cold-bloodedly shoots him in the head with his revolver. Michelle is all the more desperate now to escape the bunker, and she tries everything she can to discreetly finish the biohazard suit. In spite of that, her actions get discovered in the process, but she is smart enough to topple the barrel of a perchloric acid right over Howard, disfiguring him and accidentally causing a fire. Michelle puts on the suit and is able to escape right before the bunker exploded. This catches the attention of a nearby spacecraft that drops an alien quadrupedal creature on the ground. The massive craft also releases a toxic gas, and Michelle is forced to take refuge in the truck of Howard. The craft appears to devour along with the truck she is inside, but not before Michelle fights back by crafting an improvised Molotov cocktail and destroying the craft. Michelle drives away to Houston after hearing of emergency radio broadcast requesting the aids of survivors with medical or fighting experiences to join the fight against the invasion. The movie ends with a colossal alien spacecraft seen floating above. While Trachtenberg's 10 Cloverfield Lane was initially developed from a script called The Cellar, it was due in course made into a spiritual successor to the 2008 movie Cloverfield, starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead, John Goodman, and John Gallagher Jr. in the leading roles. The second installment in the Cloverfield film franchise deliberately plays on forced perspective, keeping one in the dark about the things that are truly taking place. It is a fast-paced, it is intense, and while it's true that it's less visually engaging than its predecessor, it is a flick that is bound to make you think and keep guessing if you are a spectator and is headed into the right direction or not. And when you have finally convinced yourself, it throws you back into a world that you just did not see coming. The finale is inevitably the high point of the whole movie, and is one of the best, if not, we may add. There is a sense of this uneasiness throughout the runtime of 104 minutes, and for that we have Goodman to give full credits to. He is fabulous, and you're going to get simply blown away by his performance. Still boasting a current IMDb rating of 7.2, 10 Cloverfield Lane deserves your time and a watch. The future unleashed everything. The Cloverfield Paradox. The events of Julius Ona's The Cloverfield Paradox takes place in the year 2028, where the condition of Earth isn't that great. The planet is seen deteriorating and running out of energy. With basic things like fuel and electricity getting rationed, people are seen turning to dangerous devices to drain power. Naturally, this leads to the space agencies of the world to put into the test of the Shepard particle accelerator on Cloverfield Station as the ultimate plan to save humanity. Of course, it has its pros and cons. If it works, it will provide the planet with an immeasurable amount of new energy. But according to the conspiracy theorists, it also has a high possibility of opening up several gateways to parallel dimensions. The crew chosen for the mission has British Communications Officer Ava Hamilton, American Commander Jason Kiel, and German scientist Ernst Schmidt, and Brazilian doctor Monka Costa, Irish engineer Gordon Mundy, Russian engineer Sasha Volkov, and Chinese engineer Ling Tam. The crew has been working on the Shepard particle accelerator for about 2 years now, and finally they are able to activate it. Finally, however, it rapidly overloads in turn and creates a power surge.
Schmidt, tell me something.
The crew is able to restore the basic functions, but to their complete horror, they discover that they are no longer orbiting around the Earth.
Well, it's big, blue, full of angry people. Keep looking, you'll find it.
It's like the whole planet has just disappeared, and to top it, even the gyroscope has mysteriously gone missing.
Picking up any signals.
The entire Earth is not gone.
Soon, bizarre events start taking place at the station. To begin with, a mysterious woman is discovered inside one of the wall panels, her entire body fused with electrical wires. The staff is able to save her, and get quite surprised when Mina Jensen tells them that she knows Hamilton from before. Volkov starts behaving oddly. He starts talking to his own reflection, and is further compelled to craft a gun. But he collapses to the ground, starts convulsing, and has worms burst out of him. Next, Mundy has his arm sucked into the wall panel, and Hamilton and Kiel pulling him out. It is seen that Mundy's arm is no longer attached to his body. There's no bleeding or pain. In fact, the severed arm is seen moving around the ship on its own. With the arm attempting to write something, the crew is instructed to cut Volkov open, and it is only after they do so they discover the missing gyroscope inside his body. With the navigation device, they are able to trace Earth. While restoring back their communications, they are shocked to learn that the people at the station were destroyed while they were working on activating the Shepherd.
We've traveled to another one.
To another dimension?
It does not take much for the crew to realize that they not only activated the Cloverfield Paradox, but they also have been pulled into a parallel universe. One where Jensen has replaced Tam as the station's engineer, Hamilton, while still being a part of the current mission, has decided to stay on Earth, and her husband, Michael, and children, the latter is very much alive. Schmidt is a German military operative. The entire crew comes to a conclusion that the paradox can be reversed, and if they are somehow able to reactivate Shepherd, Tam is able to figure out the root cause of the problem. While the Shepherd failed to get with her at attempting to make repairs, she gets killed in a freak accident. In the meantime, Hamilton, at the thought of her children being alive and not killed in the house by the fire accident, makes up her mind to stay in the parallel universe with Jensen. Mundy gets trapped in a strong magnetic field, and that leads a part of the station to explode, killing him in the process. As for Kiel, he ends up sacrificing himself in order to save the station. Back on Earth, Hamilton's husband Michael awakens to a massive explosion and briefly gets to see the shadow of a gigantic monster. He makes up his mind to head over to the hospital where he works and check on the victims. On his way, he makes a halt to help out the child that he heard crying for help. Post discovering that the hospital has been destroyed, he takes the young girl to his friend's underground shelter to treat her wounds. Back at the station, Hamilton is set to leave with Jensen and goes to her parallel universe when the latter knocks her unconscious. Next, Jensen is able to kill Monk thanks to Volkov's handgun that she has now in her possession, and also wounds Schmidt. She claims that the Cloverfield station has to stay in her dimension as that would allow her to save the people of her planet. Lucky for Hamilton that she regains her consciousness just on time to learn the real intention of Jensen. A fight ensues between the two, and it ends up with Hamilton firing at the nearby window, eventually ejecting Jensen into space, killing her. Hamilton realizes that she must return back home to her own universe before leaving. She leaves a message to her counterpart in the parallel dimension with the detailed plans of recreating the Shepherd device and reminding her of the significance of her family. She, along with Schmidt, are finally able to make use of Tam's algorithms and make the Shepherd work. Post this, the duo head back to Earth in a capsule craft. However, as the capsule is seen re-entering Earth, a colossal monster bursts through the clouds, letting out a loud roar, and the screen cuts to black. The third installment of the Cloverfield film franchise was initially made as a movie titled God Particle. The storyline is set in the midst of a war against Russia, one where a group of American astronauts find themselves literally at stake when they learn that the Earth has vanished and a Russian ship is attempting to come in contact with them. Till date, there seems to be a hot discussion amongst fans and critics who are in the opinion of that the original flick, one that was not really related to the Cloverfield movies, would have fared a better than the end result. Coming back to Ona's 2018 science fiction horror film, the screenplay by Oren Uziel bridges the gap between the other Cloverfield movies with a substantial plot. The movie has its plot developments and eerie sequences thrown at a solid pace, and let's not forget in a visually striking way too. The Cloverfield Paradox will be more relevant for the viewers who are already well versed with the franchise, And if you're someone who believes, who has still not watched either of the films, we highly recommend that you do so right away.
Unlimited energy down here, but those who have accepted the Cloverfield Paradox is real.
Cloverfield alternate dimension theory explained. There is a popular Cloverfield theory according to which each of the 3 movies takes place across different dimensions. Here, let's break it down with the 3 movies first. The first flick basically follows the consequences of a creature attack in the New York City. The second movie has a young woman trapped inside a bunker by a man who claims that there has been some kind of attack outside, one that has resulted in the air becoming unbreathable and toxic. However, the finale of the second movie reveals it's yet another monster attack. Then comes the third movie, which has a crew sent into space to deal with Earth's critical energy crisis, with the crew activating the Shepard particle accelerator in the hopes of saving humanity. They in turn trigger the Cloverfield Paradox, opening up portals to dimensions that are parallel. The third film ends with the appearance of a monster, probably from the first movie. Now that we are all on the same page, let's get to the explanation of the theory.
Oh, my arm helped us find the Earth.
It is important that you remember how the third movie ended. This is the crux of the theory. With the emergence of the monster in the end, it is quite clear that the astronauts on the Cloverfield station inadvertently released the creature from the first movie. Even the astronauts are shown having different counterparts in different dimensions. The third film validates this point by showing 2 versions of Ava Hamilton, one where she lost her children to a house fire, one that her children is still alive. So it pretty much is evident that alternate dimensions exist within the confines of the Cloverfield Paradox. Stressing a little further, it is disclosed right at the beginning of the third film that the Cloverfield Paradox not only opens up portals to dimensions, but also has their horrors threatening across the multiverse. There would be an incredible and inevitable ripple against time, accidentally created by the astronauts. Those who have seen the third movie will know that when the crew on the Cloverfield station are finally able to activate the accelerator, there happens to be a massive power surge within the station. If you think closely, the power surge is precisely what is accountable for a tear across time and space. Of course, we will substantiate our points here. In about precisely 18 minutes into the third movie, the power surge is seen taking place. Now, if we take a look into the first Cloverfield movie, the earthquake takes place in about exactly 18 minutes, releasing the monster in the second movie. The character of Emmett is seen talking about a red flash of light that he had seen in the midst of the attack. Now that tells us one simple thing. Can all of these be just mere coincidences? If you ask us, we think these evidence are proof to the fact that it was an incident taking place in the future, which impacted the previous films, and it could possibly have never happened if there wasn't a tear in time and space. Clover, the Cloverfield monster. The year 2008 introduced all its viewers to a monster that was initially addressed as the Cloverfield monster, later given the name Clover. Created by artist Neville Page and J.J. Abrams, the monster itself doesn't really have a particular species designation, but there is happening to be an official government designation that covers the creature till a certain point. For all we know, it comes under the scale of large-scale aggressor, surmised to be either a creature that has underwater or interdimensional origin. Clover happens to be a newborn specimen of its species and in all probability is separated from its clan. The origin of the monster is only disclosed in the film's viral marketing campaign, which is quite strategic on the part of Abrams. He just didn't want another monster movie. He wanted his flick to be realistic so that when the monster attacks, people will simply have no idea where it came from. Coming back to the beast, it is a deep-sea creature with an unidentified developmental history. No points for guessing that it does have a very long lifespan, because the monster on the display happens to be a young one, an infant to be more precise. Clover boasts an enormous size, about 240 to 300 feet high. Wondering what's the secret behind its colossal size? Well, primarily because of the creature devouring a gargantuan amount of the seabed's nectar, a natural steroid-like substance, one that is highly nourish and causes an augmented cell division as well as growth. By the way, the ingredient is something used by a Japanese mining company, Taguado's subsidiary company, Slusho, while manufacturing their frozen drink. Coming back to the monster, it kind of activated its hibernation mode. Credits to one of Taguado's marine biologists, Kazui Ichigawa, for first locating the monster, but the mining company took possession of Ichigawa's laptop, all of his documents, and even went to the extent of killing him as well as his family while they were on vacay. Anyways, the monster was eventually discovered and a Chuai station was built on top of its location, stating everyone that they were drilling the area for oil. Of course, the company did not stop at that, and it even had numerous submarines sent from the station above to the ocean bed to study the creature. This is precisely what bothered the creature and awoke it. Come on now, even a sleeping human gets agitated when it's disturbed. This is a mammoth we are talking about. No wonder why it got angry and ended up destroying the station first, and then made its way towards Manhattan. Yes, it did not spare the Statue of Liberty. It was hungry and wanted to eat, so I imagine its wrath post-discovering what sank its teeth into was not exactly edible. It hurls its head into the city streets. Totally justified. Next, when the military comes attacking, initially frightening the creature, but eventually enrages it even further. It goes on a rampage and starts destroying the landmarks. It even effortlessly took down helicopters. What we're looking at is a quadruped monster boasting a long trifork fin tail, feet that is roughly about 30 to 40 feet in size, with a face that looks more like a piranha or an anglerfish. Right between the monster's legs are two external esophagi, which are primarily used to eat smaller creatures, human beings to be more specific. It's gray in color and has a skin that shows a very strong resistance to heavy weapons, heat, and even pressure to that matter. Imagine shells from a M1A2 tank, M109A6 Paladins, AT-4 rockets, FGM-148 Javelin missile launchers, AGM-65 Mavericks, and Mark 82 not having an effect on the creature. So you know exactly what we're talking about. Well, post countless failed attempts to destroy the monster, the government was left with no other options than to execute their hammer-down protocol. Bomb the entire city to kill the creature. Apart from Clover, there are also these human-scale parasites that the former is a host to. We are particularly stressing on the crab-like creatures dropping themselves on the ground from their symbiotic main host. Mind you, their bite is absolutely fatal. If you have seen the first movie, you are bound to remember what happens to Lizzie Kaplan's character. For those who haven't seen the movie, the bite of the human-scale parasites had Kaplan's character bleed from her eyes first, then her body burst without giving any warning. Is there going to be a Cloverfield 4? Well, we have good news for all the Cloverfield fans out there. There's already been an official declaration of a fourth movie, one that will have J.J. Abrams as the good old producer and Joe Barton as the screenwriter. Abrams has further addressed Cloverfield 4 as a film that is more accurate and devoted release to its previous counterparts. Unlike the previous installments, the fourth movie will not have a found footage flick, nor will it be an extension of its predecessor. That means Barton has the liberty to come up with an ingeniously creative story. But having said that, please keep this in mind that it will be related to the 2008 release. Other aspects of the new movie are kept undisclosed right at the moment, but we are pretty sure that it's bound to surprise the viewers. The movie is still in the making, production has not yet started, therefore it is devoid of a tentative release date. So if you are someone who isn't acquainted with the franchise at all, we highly recommend this for you. If you fancy monster movies and science fiction flicks, then there are no doubts about the franchise here. It is categorically for you.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
What do you want to say? Last thing to the king.
I had a good day.